One of the most important archaic 6th century BCE artists is a guy whose name is Ezekias, and he is a painter. I do really want you to know this artist, and I've included a couple Smart History videos that go over 2 of his vessels, so please take a careful look at those. Before you do that, I thought I'd give you just a brief introduction in terms of what might be useful to look for. For one thing, this is referred to as black figure style. That is easy. The figures are literally painted black against the background of the clay, which is the natural color of the pot. Details are scraped through or engraved through the painted surface, giving these figures a lot of pattern or a lot of surface detail, which again is kind of a part of the archaic, this love of surface detail. In addition to that, though, this is important. It's black figure, that's number 1. Number 2, it's a subject drawn from the Trojan War, so it tells us of the importance of the stories of Homer and the continuation of the emphasis on the heroism of the great warriors of the past, particularly based upon the stories of Homer's Mycenaean warriors. This depicts Ajax and Achilles. They are taking time out from the battle to sit and play a board game. But the tension in this composition, and you can see that they have their weapons, their lances, their spears at the ready, and their shields to the sides of the composition. The tension here suggests that this is more than just a simple board game. And in fact, it is an important contest between 2 great heroes of Homer's Iliad, one being Achilles, who is an individual who is the greatest of all warriors and dies in a very honorable way, and the other being Ajax. And these 2 guys were friends, very close friends. But Ajax will not fare as well. He will dishonor his name and consequently die with a great deal of shame. In looking at these 2 figures, I think immediately you can tell which one is the greater hero. It is the guy on the left with the helmet, which means that he is being shown in hierarchic scale. This then is not just a simple painting about 2 guys taking time out in battle. It is instead about the contest for individual glory and achievement, in particular on the battlefield. It's all, again, about the competition. And within the Greek world, you do need to remember that the Greeks did not fear dying. Death was not so terrible. What mattered was what you achieved while you were alive. And a great hero, in fact, might indeed die young in his lifetime. All it really mattered was his accomplishments, what it is that he achieved as an individual. This vessel is also very carefully designed with the figures forming a closed composition. And in fact, their backs actually echo the shape of this painted pot. The composition then focuses specifically on the center in the board, and that is where we also see the 2 figures lean together with great intensity during this competition between them. This vase is also important for a few other reasons. One of them includes the inscriptions that are placed on it. One of those inscriptions reads, quote, "Ezekias made and painted me." Folks, it's the pot talking to us. It is a way for the artist to brag about his own work and do so without looking like he's bragging, because after all, it's the pot that's saying this. One of the things I want to stress about this is, yes, Ezekias has pride in his work, his work is, in fact, an individual achievement. But I also want you to know this is reflected in this period by the inclusion of artists' names. We start to know the names of painters, of sculptors, of architects, but also of politicians, of orators, of athletes, and philosophers. This is a period where we document the individual and what it is that the individual can do. In addition to that inscription on the vase, and there are lots of them on this particular creation, there is also another inscription that is important, and it reads, Anatirides is beautiful. Okay, Anatirides is beautiful. Anatirides is a man's name. So what we think this may have been, at least initially, was a vessel that was created as a kind of love token from one man to another. And the reason that it's worth noting that is it's very important to understand that in the ancient Greek world, homosexuality was an accepted form of social behavior within society. And in fact, often I would say it was expected. It is in many ways linked with activities that take place in the male drinking parties referred to as symposiums. But there are other ways in which it was equally important. You might be wondering, well, okay, how did the Greek world get to place such high status on the relationship of homosexuality? And there are a number of social theories that help to explain this. One is the prominence of warfare, and for some of the city-states, such as Sparta, where children are taken away from the home, men find companionship with other men. Okay, that's one explanation. And I think there is another explanation that has been proposed that works even better in understanding the phenomena, and it is the view of women in the ancient Greek world. Women were not considered to be the equals of men. They were viewed as inferior creatures, not capable of the same kind of logic and ability to function in the world as men. A married woman, for example, would generally not be able to leave her house alone. She would be accompanied by a man who, if she went to the market, would help to run the transaction for her, because goodness me, the lady couldn't figure out how to pay for a chicken. If you live in a society where women are not considered to be the equal of men, and you wish to have a meaningful relationship, a truly deep and meaningful one, it cannot be with a woman. It has to therefore be with another man. That does not mean the family isn't important, because it is. Men and women married, had homes, had families, and raised children. But the relationship that existed between men and women was a very different one than the relationship that existed between men. Another reason that this particular vessel is important is that it was located and saved, really, from excavation in an Etruscan tomb. And we're going to get to the Etruscans pretty quickly. The Etruscans are an early civilization in the Italian peninsula, and they, in the northern part of the landmass, they're going to love Greek art. They're going to buy it avidly, collect it, and they're going to place it in their tombs. It is from Etruscan tombs that the largest percentage of known Greek vases with painting actually is surviving today. So we can thank the Etruscans for this, and we'll return and talk about that shortly. Let's finish with the end of the story of the contest between these two great heroes and great rivals. Ajax is not going to have the glorious end of his life that Achilles does. Instead, he is going to dishonor his reputation by running around the camp after he is denied the honor of achieving the armor of Achilles after Achilles dies valiantly on the battlefield. Ajax is simply not going to take this well. He's going to do something very unacceptable in the ancient Greek world, and that is he's going to lose it. He is going to run around the camp, ripping it up, killing the animals, and when he comes to his senses, he's going to realize he's humiliated himself. There is only one way he can redeem his honor, and that is by taking his own life. This is Ezekias again, and what he's painting this time is the moment before the act of suicide that Ajax is going to engage in. It is again filled with tension, and there's a drama. If you were a Greek, you would know this story, so you'd know exactly what is going on. It is an image that shows the total control and concentration of Ajax as he bends over, methodically placing the blade into a mound of earth so that he can hurl himself against the blade and take his own life. This is typical of Ezekias in giving us the emotional moment of the story. It also is again a closed composition, and the figure of Ajax is actually echoing the shape of the panel that's painted on the vessel. So pretty good stuff in general coming from the hand of Ezekias.